Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now, off of my video 2 days ago, this was my ideal situation I suggested we should get, and I'm just going to press play on that video now. And if we come lower, then we have our ABC. Look for a 3-wave move here to the downside to complete our Y wave, and look for the 1-to-1 extension on the larger view of this W wave for our Y wave at 59,968. So as you can see, there's a lot happening here. This would be ideal for me. I'd be very confident on this one. Look for the 1-to-1 target or just taking out these stops. So that was yesterday in this area. As you can see, we ended up getting our 3-wave move to the downside as expected and came to the 1-to-1. Now I'm going to go over this pattern here and what it can be, but as of right now, just full disclosure, I entered along here at the 1-to-1. I have a pretty nice setup currently, literally at the 1-to-1, stop at the previous low there at 59,005. Now, I'm not sure where I'm going to take profit yet. That's what we're going to discuss. But as of right now, if this is the bottom of the fourth, there's a lot that has to happen before I would confirm that. This could be the low before all-time highs. That's just one scenario. First, we got to get past all this resistance, and I'm going to explain to you what I'm looking for in those areas. But as of right now, I am looking for currently all-time highs if everything goes as planned. And it's important to note that when I take these entries, obviously we want the trend to continue to the upside, and that is one of the possibilities, but I'm not predicting the future. I know everything can change very quickly based on one wave. So one other thing to keep in note here, as per guidelines, is our A wave off our B. Yesterday I had it labeled as a WXY. I believe it's most likely a C wave now if this pivot holds. We came just shy of the 1.618 in time. So looking pretty good for guidelines. Sometimes we hit the 1-to-1, sometimes it drags out a little bit longer. But as per my trade, that is my entry. I want to buy at the 1-to-1 and protect the previous important low here at 59,005. Take the liquidity below the A, so all the longs get stopped out, and everybody's short now. We should stop out those longs if the trend's going to continue, or stop out those shorts. So that's the ideal scenario. We can come up here and actually take out this low and stop out the rest of the longs that are just below here. But then I would adjust my trade setup for a nice little micro 5-wave move up by the pullback if I get stopped out in this trade. If you are trading this for the long term, you might want to have your stop a little bit lower, maybe at this previous pivot back here. But as per trading for me, I go for position size, so I'm okay if I get stopped out here and looking for a entry below that area, because my potential profit, if we are going to make new highs, is much greater than if my stop was down here, because my position size is based on a 1% risk per trade of my trading account. Okay, just zooming out, if you didn't see my previous video, we're working on, as per my primary count. Sorry, get rid of these a little bit here. As per my primary count, have this as a 1-2 in blue, working on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for our third wave, looking for a larger term consolidation after the fact and a 5th wave to the upside. I'm not going to give those targets as of now because a lot has to happen before we can get there. But if you want to like and subscribe, I will update these on a regular basis. If we end up failing here and come lower, which is a possibility, I would relabel this and move our wave 2 over here. And this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete, and we're actually making a larger consolidation and then making our 5th wave. And this would be our larger 3rd wave top. That's not my primary, just because of how deep this correction came. It didn't invalidate, but you can see it looks better as a complex correction. Although this is 5 waves up, I have this as a expanded flat currently. So that's the alternative if we do break down. And that area we would look for is between around 48,646 and 57,000, perhaps just at the top end of this this previous level right here, as you can see, using that correction as well as support. Right to the ideal zone between the 382 and the 236 for a 4th wave. But as of now, anticipating this move to the upside for our 5th of our 3rd. Now I wanted to discuss this correction here, the last move to the downside, which I currently have labeled as a C wave, but that can change if we do make further downside and break this wick here at 59,005. So it's been a very difficult structure, as you can see, a lot of 3-wave patterns. I did consider it could be a 5-wave pattern, and this was all a flat. Our first wave was 3, second wave for our B complex, and then 5 waves down for our C. And it does technically measure. As you see, we would have gotten an extension in our 3rd past the 200. And if that was the case, we'd actually expect another move to the downside here and probably most likely come to the 2.618 extension. But I like it better as a diagonal. I like this as a series of ABCs. Depending where you want to take your high from here, most likely here, ABC, ABC, and this would be an ABC. So you can see we have potentially a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete as a diagonal. Although the shape isn't ideal, this isn't ideal for guidelines, but we do have to take what we can get. The important thing is we came to the 1-to-1. We are currently at the level I would expect a reversal. So taking a shot at this one, I can remove that 618. And one other thing to consider is we're not out of the woods here that this is a B wave. If this is actually a 5-wave move, we're not quite in our B zone area yet. And what that means is if this is labeled incorrectly and say this is actually a 5-wave move and this is actually a very deep wave 2 and this is 5 as well. So we potentially have a 1 either with a expanded flat, or if you can count 5 down here, it's a very difficult count. So if this is a 1, 2, 3, we could literally be in the middle of a B wave here for a 4th. It would probably break this trend line slightly, give you a false breakout, and then come down for a 5th wave. So just something I'm keeping in mind. And that would even happen because this is a 3-wave move. This is right now a 3-wave move. Could even happen if we get 5 waves up from here. So these are things to keep in mind. This could just get extended out and make 5 waves. If this is our correction and we make 5 up, what's difficult about this is, again, I mentioned this could be the bottom of our 5th in a diagonal or a B wave in our 4th wave. And in that case, we would expect 5 waves up. So we're not going to know because if we get 5 waves up, our standard expectation is get a nice 3-wave sideways move, buy here, stop at the low, right? And off we go. Continuation of the trend. But if we get a ABC 335, it's very important to watch what happens in this area up here. Very, very important, because if we start selling off quickly, then it's more likely that we are continuation for that fifth wave and perhaps get stopped out. But in those scenarios, I'm going to be very careful with where I put my stops. If we get some distance here in 5 waves, I will probably pull the fib tool and put my stop just past the 618 retracement, because if it is a wave 1 and 2, we don't expect us to pass that 618. So it would be very slight profit. I just got in at the 1-to-1, right? So pretty much the low, if we get a move up from here, it's either a B wave or the bottom of the fifth. So I would lock up this much profit between that 1-to-1 and the 618 there, depending how high this wave ends up trending. Why does that keep disappearing on me? So that's what I'm looking for, guys. And the other scenario we could not be out of the woods either yet is we can get double zigzags, or sorry, single zigzags, double zigzags, triple zigzags for wave 1s. So this is the other scenario I'm considering, and it's important to keep an eye on these things, is that could be a wave 1 and 2 in a diagonal. And we could actually be making our 3, 4, 5 down here. And it would look pretty much like it is now, except we might get a 3-wave move here and another 3-wave move to the downside. And you can see we'd make some sort of wedge pattern here to the downside. We just got a very extended wave 1. What I look for in those scenarios is 618s when we get a very deep wave 1. So if this is our wave 1, we pull from our wave 1 off our wave 2, which would be up here, and we'd look for 618 extension. Which you can see is very, very close. Oh, we hit it on log. Sorry, I was on the wrong scale there. So we hit the 618 extension. I'll put that on in blue in log, as you can see. So there is a possibility. This is our 1, 2, 3, looking for 3 back between the 50 and the 618 of this move. And then we get another 3 down. And for targeting for that, once our third is complete and it becomes obvious, we look for the 618 again. So we might potentially just come down and wick through that 59,005 area and then reverse quickly if we end up making a diagonal here. And I would look for longs there. So you can see we're at an area where a lot can happen. And as of right now, I am long. Stop at that low. Very, very tight. I have a pretty good position size, but it's going to be very important to see what happens on this next wave. Very, very important. Because we can continue on down, but I'm not going to go over that scenario right now. Just talking about the current setup. So this is the difficulty when we get a lot of overlap in 3 waves. At that point, I know we could be on a wave 3 of a diagonal, or we could be completed a diagonal as going against guidelines. And we are at a 1-to-1 of this A off the B for our C. So that's the important thing I'm currently looking at for this 1% risk trade. So we'll see. Hoping to get 5 waves off this low, even if we just make a slightly lower low, keep defending this. Looking to make 5 waves up. At this point, I will put on my fib retracement tool and put my stop just past the 618. Again, wherever this move comes to. It can come much higher, can come a little bit lower. We shall see, but as long as we get that, I shouldn't lose money on this trade. And if we do get just a 3-wave move up, I would probably move my stop to the B wave here, because if it's a 3-wave move, we collapse through that B wave, have trend continuation, and we would expect if we get an equal length, it would be a 1-2, 1-2. Then we go 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So just using probabilities to manage where my stop is in the future. Anyways, I hope that was helpful, guys. Now, nothing's changed from last video. This correction can get much bigger. We just have to keep in mind of those scenarios and what those are. I'll go down to the 1 hour. Get rid of that 1.618. You just know we're close to there. So what can be happening here is if this is a flat as an ABC, we can get a flat in a triangle. So this can get extended out in time, and that could just be an A wave of a larger triangle before moving for our 5th wave up. This is also can be a 3-wave move as an A wave, as a flat. So these are scenarios we're going to have to pay attention to in the future. But what's important is if the correction is complete here and we continue to the upside, this is a potential low in. If we make any of these corrections, this is the potential lowest point of those corrections, potentially. So that's why I'm so interested in getting the long from this area, okay? And I will be, again, interested once again if we do end up breaking this low. I just take a little bit slightly different entry because right now I have a hard stop at that level. All right, guys, so that's it for Bitcoin. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.